All right, welcome to another episode of Closers Are Losers. I am here today solo. Our co-host, Matt Ryder, our CEO, is actually traveling right now. He's actually traveling from our Sydney, Australia office all the way over to Scottsdale. So he is on probably a flight right now. So we're here. So Erik, we've got a gentleman by the name of Erik Huberman, a massive marketer, massive business owner. We're excited to have him on the show. And I want to give a brief introduction of who we're introducing to you and why it's so important for you to pay attention with what he's going to cover in the show. So Erik is a Los Angeles-based CEO, so he pays high taxes. He launched Hawke Media all the way back in 2014. It's now valued at over $150 million. So this guy knows what he's talking about. It's the fastest growing marketing consulting agency in the United States right now. That's big time. That's good. We're the fastest growing sales training company in the United States. You just got that by Inc. magazine. So we're marketing and sales. I love that. So inspired by Erik's nimble ability to identify gaps in the market. See, problem solving is all about identifying the gaps. Erik knows that. Because of that, Hawke Media's mission is to provide accessibility and top of the line marketing solutions to both large and SMB type of companies, create an evocative, distinctive offering to business owners looking to outsource their chief marketing officer and marketing teams. Well done. In 2020, the launch of Hawke Talk is a podcast hosted by Erik himself. We're going to check that out. That discusses origin stories with leaders in respective industries. The 2021 launch of Hawke Z. I love this. An agency offering the brands the tools needed to tap into Gen Z, and recently authored his new book titled The Hawke Method. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Now, he's also been recognized by Forbes magazine 30 Under 30. CSQ's 40 Under 40, Inc. magazine's top 25 marketing influencers. We're in there with you. Just sales. Best in Business North America's Marketing Executive of the Year. International Business Awards Entrepreneur of the Year in the field of advertising, marketing, and public relations. Erik is a well-known keynote speaker and a regular contributor to major publications like Business Insider, Entrepreneur, Forbes, Inc., and Rolling Stone. How does this man find time? Erik, what do you not do? I'm getting people wanting us to contribute, and we're contributing to one, and I feel like I'm working all the time. Now, let's do this. I'm excited to have you on here because I love talking. A lot of our show is, we have sales professionals that listen in and entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants. And a lot of what we cover with Matt, our CEO, is really like sales skills and sales ability so they can make more sales. But I love bringing people in like you that talk about sales and persuasion and influence from the marketing side point, which is so crucial to your success to get the right type of avatar coming in, the right type of lead. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your background and how you arrived at being recognized as one of the top marketers in the world. Like, were you born out of your mother's womb with these skills, or how did you learn them?
Yeah, it's funny. You go, I know this is coming out of left field for you, but it came from sales. I decided when I was, 19, that I really needed to learn sales because I kept hearing the cliche that like you need sales in everything you do, and all my parents' successful friends would tell me that. So I went, all right, cool. So I need to go learn sales. And so I got a job at Cutco and selling, kitchen knives door to door. And I broke all their records, and it turned out I had a knack for it. And I think that came from, I had an entrepreneur dad I was the oldest, and was like, frankly, super hard on me, but it forced me to like tap dance and be on my toes with the things I said all the time. And so I just grew up choosing my words wisely and being able to sell myself because I saw the difference in the way I said something actually also sold my parents on doing certain things and treating me a certain way. So I really do believe it naturally came from that, and then did really well when I first tried sales. And so I found marketing didn't come into play until after college. I actually made fun of marketing majors in college. I was like, you guys just probably draw pretty pictures, right? That's what marketers do. But I started a music company a year out of college and realized it was really easy to serve my clients, but to get them was really hard. And so again, leveraging what I knew about sales, but knowing that financially we were charging $50 a month for business coaching for musicians was that company. Yeah. And so I couldn't afford to do direct one-on-one sales at scale. And so we had to figure out mass marketing and how that would look and how to find them where they are and how to use different sales tactics and language, but at scale. And I do believe that marketing is sort of a one-to-many version of sales.
Yeah, for sure. It's selling one to many, 100%. It's almost like you're on stage selling one to many, but the one to many is like 10. It's like like 10 football fields of people or more, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about a little bit of what you just said. You talked about how your parents kind of instilled in this belief, like, hey, like sales is something that everybody needs to know. Like in your mind, the ability to sell and communicate, why is that so important in today's competitive world?
I don't think it's necessarily today. I think it's always been like you're going. It's just it's an advantage. Like whether it's getting a job, getting a significant other, getting like any part of what you're doing, whether it's marketing or sales, like you're positioning yourself, you're presenting value, you're trying to close the deal, whatever that deal might be. Like these are things that can help you in, again, almost any aspect of your life. You watch salespeople and how. My wife laughs about it because it's even comes down to like how I get upgraded on on a flight. Like if you know how to sell and you know how to convince and you know how to do those things, you can get a lot out of life. And
it's true. I mean, really, if you think about it, we're all in sales now. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't have a sales job where you get paid a commission. I mean, we call that non-sales selling. Like if you're an entrepreneur, and this, you own a company. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get your employees to follow your vision of where you want to go with the company. What are you doing? You're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence, you're trying to move others. If you're an attorney trying to convince the judge that your client's innocent, what are you doing? You're trying to persuade, influence. I mean,
exactly.
If you're a politician now trying to convince people to vote for you.
We're
trying to persuade and influence. So it's a skill set that we have to have if we want to get ahead in life. I mean, just like you talked about, how do you convince, how do you persuade somebody even to upgrade your seat, maybe to first class on a flight? Or if you're a mother, how do you persuade your child to go to bed on time? I mean, all persuasion skills. Now, what do you feel are a few of, let's say, the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they're trying to sell like their product and service, like especially on the marketing side of the business?
I'd say the biggest mistake is they get long-winded and to explain this whole grandiose vision of their company versus getting to the point of why I care. We coach a lot of entrepreneurs on that because from a marketing sense, it's the same problem. Like one of my first things I ask when someone's presenting me a new company they're launching, it's like, okay, so what do you do? Like, why do I tell me? And then they'll start to go into an elevator pitch, which is already too long. Yeah. And it's like, no, give it to me in a sentence. One sentence. What do you do? Why am I interested? Because the reason is it's not about the fact that you may not get time. Like if I'm sitting on the phone with you, I can have, 30 minutes to maybe talk to you. But when you leave, I need you to go tell other people about it. Now, if I haven't given you an easy sentence to regurgitate, you're not telling anyone. And word of mouth is so critical. That's been the big one.
Well, it's so true. Like if you're at a function and somebody asks like, hey, what do you do? Let's say that you're a real estate agent. If you just say, well, I sell real estate. All you simply did right there is in their mind, you just clumped yourself with all the other realtors. Like literally, there's no difference between you and 75 other realtors when you say stuff like that. So you're right. You want to say how what you do helps other people, right? So when you focus on how what you do as far as like gaps or problems and how you help them, and you can do that short, like in a 2-sentence frame, that piques curiosity where the person you're talking to actually wants to engage with you and wants to open up to you because they feel like you might have something important for them.
Exactly. Your pitch needs to be unique too. Like in real estate, let's say if you're in a room of a bunch of entrepreneurs, you go, I'm in real estate. So I actually help entrepreneurs navigate a lot of the nuances that help them save money on the rent side of things and really focus on that. Then it's like, wait, I'm an entrepreneur. You help me save rent. Like, okay. No one's ever told me that one.
They can identify with that. Like, oh yeah, shoot. Like I do. I'm not saving. Am I not saving that money? Do I have a gap? You start to think like, oh yeah, that makes sense because you're identifying a problem that most people, whoever you're talking to, that's right. You have to you can't just have some vague thing. But whoever you're talking to, they can identify with that problem and be like, oh, that's me. And then how what you do kind of solves that in one sentence. I think that's brilliant. Now we talked a lot about. Obviously, we talk a lot about sales on the show and how to do that effectively. But in your mind, should a salesperson, or let's say consultants for sure, but should a salesperson also brand themselves as a go-to expert? And if so, what's the best way for them to start doing that?
Yeah, I would say, you have to actually fulfill it or you become another full of shit salesperson. So like the thing is, if you're going to brand yourself as an expert, be an expert. But I think, focus and specialization in sales can go a long way. We've seen it at our own company where, we have a cannabis expert, we have a fitness and health expert. We have people that know that industry so well that, sales, a lot of it is trust. And if you can demonstrate that you actually know what you're talking about, depending on what you're selling, like in our case, we're selling marketing services to brands. And if that salesperson can demonstrate that they really have a lot of knowledge about that industry, that can help them trust that we're actually going to know what we're doing when we take on their marketing.
Yeah. Like I said, all sales, whether it's marketing or sales, like one-on-one or one-to-many, it's all about one thing. Selling is about change. That's really what sales is. It's about how good you are at getting your prospect to view in their mind that by changing their situation, meaning, purchasing what you're offering, is going to be far less riskier for them than them doing nothing at all, staying in the status quo and nothing ever changes, which is more risky. So it's all about change. I 100% agree with you on that. How do you get in your marketing? Let's focus on the marketing aspect because that's where your major expertise is. How do you get your customers that view your ads and, view your brand to think more results-based thinking rather than like price-based thinking in your mind?
Yeah, it's funny. We get into that battle sometimes where people are trying to squeeze us on price. And it's like, we are managing your marketing budget, which let's say we're usually taking 10 to 20% of it as fees and then managing the other 80, 90%. From there, that marketing needs to, at least get them 4 to 6 times returns to even be a sustainable business. But let's say 10 times. Yeah. So you're paying me, if I'm taking 10% of your budget, which needs to be 10x, you're paying me 1% of what your returns need to be. If I can't make the difference of 1% in your marketing, you're right, you shouldn't hire me. But that also is really not a hard thing to accomplish, to increase your returns by 1%. And that covers us. Yeah. That covers my fees. So those are the things that we get into conversations that we have to educate is like, our price is not the issue. If our performance is, if we don't do a good job, that's an issue. But our fees shouldn't be a calculation, because if you're paying us a lot, you should be because you're making a ton.
Yeah. Well, and it just depends on, it's almost like this question, like it just depends on the results you want. Like,
right.
We can definitely lower the price, but we would just have to take people away from the team.
Oh yeah. And that's what we talk about all the time. Like, what's your goal here? If your goal is to, win the Super Bowl of whatever you're doing, then, pulling back on paying your quarterback is probably not the best thing to do, but it just depends what you're trying to accomplish. Because we do get people that their ambition doesn't match what they're trying to do. And we need ambitious clients. Like if you're not trying to grow, you're not a good client for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Status quo is not, shouldn't hire a marketing agency for status quo.
Yeah, 100%. What are a few things that you see companies do that really prevents them from scaling their ads?
I see this in sales and marketing. The follow-up game is like the biggest overlooked valuable piece, where it's like, getting new leads is great. And I mean this in marketing and sales, getting new people in the pipeline and marketing, getting new people in the pipeline and sales. So many people squander this database that they continue to build. Honestly, I see a ton of companies don't even collect the database. They don't even keep a CRM or an email system. And I'm talking about, I've sat in the room with multi-billion-dollar companies that aren't doing this. And it's absurd to me because we see, 75% of the business come from that database versus new acquisition. Over time, it gets more and more and more lucrative. Wow. And so it's really about that follow-up. And, in the book we're launching, we talk about like, there's kind of 3 categories to marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Because you talked about trust. Let's talk about the 3 categories in your book, because I think that's really going to help our listeners. Let's just break down like each one and why it's so important to learn those skills.
Yeah. And what we found was this just an overall marketing framework, which again, I feel like is a sales framework too, in the sense of awareness is just how do you introduce yourself to new people? So new potential customers. It could be, introducing your brand, in sales yourself, et cetera. But how do you fill that top of the funnel? So it could be advertising, it could be cold outreach, it could be word of mouth, however it is that you're getting new people aware of you. But what salespeople generally know intuitively and through experience that marketers miss a lot is that there's a period between when you meet someone and they buy something. It's a sales cycle, it's called, or a purchase cycle. And marketers miss it all the time. So salespeople follow up, hopefully. Again, this is something that I do see missed a lot, but you have to stay on top of your contacts for years. You never know. You never know that it's 6 years from now, they're all of a sudden like, you know what, I do need to buy from that person, because you're developing trust over time and you're just keeping in front of them. And that relationship, people take time to think about purchasing it. To get with all the information and all the noise out there, it takes longer and longer. And so, we see in e-commerce.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I want to break it. I want to hold that point because so I don't forget. So one of our clients, Brandon Kane, we do all of his sales for his company, like his social media training. He's a big Hollywood influencer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he wrote a book called Hook Point, like how to stand out in a 3-second world, New York Times bestseller. And he talks about in Hook Point that there are actually over 3 billion content creators that you are competing with every single day that are trying to attract the attention away from the people you're trying to sell to. Okay. Guess how many there were 20 years ago? 1 million content creators. Now they're over 3 billion. He goes on to say that you're literally even competing with 13-year-old girls that are junior high on TikTok now, taking away attention, right? Because we're constantly being sold to. So how do we break through? How do we break through and stand out even in that first 3 to 5 seconds? I think you're hitting on it.
Well, that's that initial awareness piece. But then what do you do once you break out? Because lots of people figure out how to make a viral video. I had a video on TikTok go viral and hit, I think, 58 million views like a month ago, which, by the way, total accident. I had like 100 TikTok followers. I have no idea how that happened. I wish I could say I was good, but sometimes better to be lucky than good. But then how do you translate that? What does that turn into? Because a bunch of people it was a video of a flying car that a friend of mine launched. And it's like, it's really cool, but like, now what? So
what is that? Yeah. How does that help you or help them?
Yeah. And that's where the nurturing piece comes in, is what do I do over time now? Which what I'm doing is I'm continuing to put out great content about flying cars and cool vehicles and things, but then I'm also seeding in things about my book, things about the company, et cetera. So people over time start to see us, and someone in that audience goes, oh, and it's happened. In fact, that flying car company is hiring us along with some other vehicle companies because they're like, oh, look what this guy did. We should get this guy on board. So that nurturing piece. So again, it's awareness, nurturing, and trust. Those are the 3 pillars we look at, and it really gives people an easy access, whether you're in sales or marketing, to go, oh, so I'm not, am I filling the top of the funnel properly? How am I doing that? Then am I nurturing that to get them to a sale? And then am I building trust, whether it's third-party validation or building a brand that allows people to actually trust me inherently so that they do purchase? Because 75% of people won't purchase from someone they don't inherently trust. So that's what the Hawke Method's about.
I think you hit something that's really important. Let's talk about the trust factor, because a lot of people, I still go to events like, I was at a personal development event, a month or 2 ago from a pretty big influencer in that space. And they talk about like, oh, you got to get people to like you, to buy from you. And I'm sitting there thinking like, that's not really what behavioral science teaches. Like in our day and age, people don't buy from people who they just like. Like you like grandma, but it doesn't necessarily mean you love grandma, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to buy from grandma. You buy from the people who you feel like you trust are going to get you the results you want, right? Because if we just bought from people we like, we would never buy from Amazon. We would never buy from these big stores. We go to the local butcher. We do all this, but we buy based on the results we feel the person, that we're buying from is going to get. So it's all about trust. Now, how do you build trust? By the questioning you ask that makes you appear that you are an expert in your field, like the trusted authority.
Well, the questions you ask can help, but it's also third-party validation is huge, showing whether it's testimonials, referrals, PR, influencers talking about you, et cetera. And then consistency over time. That's what brand is trust. Yeah. When you talk about like, why would you, if you're in the middle of, a third world country and you want to grab a drink and you see a Coca-Cola on the shelf versus, some off-label, half-open bottle, you're buying the Coca-Cola because you trust, like, that's probably going to be a Coca-Cola. Like and I've been in that situation. That's why I'm saying it. Though I will say we found a staple in our Big Mac at McDonald's in Egypt once. That was weird. But but yeah, the point is we bought McDonald's because we're like, it's McDonald's. I'm sure it's fine, regardless of whether you're in Los Angeles or in Cairo. Yeah. And generally you can actually trust that, and that's consistent.
Yeah, it's all about trust, right? People buy based on who they feel they trust is going to get them results they're wanting. What's one, let's talk about our entrepreneurs here on the show, like what, or even let's say a salesperson who's looking to start their own company. What's one important question that you feel every entrepreneur should be asking themselves before they start their own business?
Do you really want to do this?
Tell us why.
Yeah. So this has been the biggest thing I've learned in business and continue to harp on it is, if you're at the top of a company, you're an entrepreneur or even an executive at some point, you're going to deal with the biggest problems that no one else can solve, quote unquote, below you, which means your job not for the most part, but a big piece of your job is dealing with the biggest problems that no one else can figure out how to solve. Sure. And so, I hear so many entrepreneurs talk about how stressful it is, how exhausting it is. You hear about entrepreneur suicide, and it's like, I hate to hear it. And I, have a lot of empathy for it, but at the same time, you're not a victim. No one made you become an entrepreneur. You chose to. It's okay. You can go get a job. And so before you get into something, I guess it's two things: that, and then what are you doing to actually create value? Because I think there's like a sex appeal to being an entrepreneur now. Yeah. That it's like, don't just like spin up. Like the drop shipping community is my favorite example of this, because like everyone got into it. Everyone thought they're an entrepreneur now because they could get some shitty product from China and put it on Amazon. And 99% of people were left holding a bag after trying to use ClickFunnels to sell crap. And it's like, you weren't creating any value or any enterprise value. Like there wasn't anything you were doing. Like you don't need to force it to start a business. Like really figure out something that you can uniquely do better than everyone else. And you can provide, whether it's a product or service, and find a niche in the market. And that's all important. It took me years of looking at things to start and building different things to find my way into Hawke Media. And that's okay. Keep trying, keep doing things. But also, again, know what you're signing up for.
Well, I think you said something really important there. It took you years to develop the skills that you now give on to your clients. And I see so many young entrepreneurs. I love their spirit, but they don't have enough experience with what they're trying to do for them to go out and train the masses to actually do that, right? They'll have a good, they'll get some type of job and they get good at it for 6 months or a year. Then they think they're some type of expert. They go out and start their own company and they can't fulfill. Maybe they can just fulfill like this little spot, but then they try to go out of that and they don't have the skill set yet because they don't have the experience. And then their business just goes under very quickly, or they get a bad reputation. So it's all about taking the time, spending the years dedicated to your craft, to learn the craft, to outlearn your competitors rather than just trying to fly by the seat of your pants and hope and pray it works out.
Yeah, which almost never. I don't know of a young entrepreneur or a young agency owner that had no experience in marketing that built a successful agency. I've seen that I've seen the start of it a billion times, but I have not seen any of them go on to build something really significant. Because you, as you said, you get a bad reputation, you burn that, and then you burn yourself out. And frankly, you don't make any money because you just churn through clients and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, you're not getting results. I agree. Yeah. How do you fine tune your craft? Like once you learn how to get your brand to stand out as an industry leader, how do you continue to improve that brand?
Just keep trying things. Honestly, it's just constant, it's sort of a constant curiosity of again, I'm 35 years old, but I'm on TikTok. Now it's not that abnormal. 2 years ago, or when was that? Yeah, 2.5 years ago when I got on, was not normal for a 33-year-old to be on TikTok. But I was like, hey, listen, this seems to be going somewhere. I was stuck in Seoul, Korea airport and went, I'm going to check this out. And I spent, I think 3 or 4 hours the first time I downloaded it, just watching videos. Got nothing better to do. I was stuck in airports. That airport's there's not a lot going on there. So but it's that kind of thing. And then let's try posting something. And then I had friends that know it. That's honestly where I get a lot of my information, is surrounding myself with people that know a lot about something I don't. And so I had friends that were good at TikTok, and one of them, and we have that Hawke partnership with Josh Richards and Griffin Johnson. And I posted on Instagram a snowboard video, and I forgot who it was, told me hey, you should throw that on TikTok. I think it'll go somewhere. And I put it on, and it was by far, it was nothing in terms of views, but still by far my most viral video at the time. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. I kind of see how this works. You can actually go viral on TikTok, which you can't on any other channel. And so I started looking more into it.
Yeah, it's all about capturing that data, even if it's a younger crowd that maybe they're 15, 16, 17, but eventually they're going to be in business. They're going to have jobs where they need marketing. And then, when they start to view your content for several years, you're on their mind when they get to that point. It's capturing that data for sure. How, in your mind, and some people say it has, some people it hasn't, how has marketing changed because of the COVID pandemic in your mind?
It's just more digital. Digital really took off. We were seeing, so e-commerce purchases and digital purchases were about 13% of consumer shopping pre-pandemic. And literally 3 months later, it was 30%.
Yeah, right.
And consumer spending didn't change.
Sure.
It shifted from leisure, travel, hospitality to products, frankly. So any e-commerce company that stuck with it for those 3 months, it was a ridiculous experience on our end because we had so many clients that were just poised to crush it during that period that were so scared of the news that just shut down their marketing, and it completely screwed their business because all their competitors skyrocketed. Our average client that stuck with us in that first quarter doubled their revenue.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was easy.
Yeah, we didn't even, we were locked in. We were at our other home in Missouri during COVID, just because, gated community, just out in the country and the type of thing. So we went there. And I remember even my wife, because nobody knew what it was going on the first 4 or 6 weeks, right? Like everybody thought it would be on if you had a can of water, like it could be on the can, So I remember we were ordering, my wife was ordering groceries. They would get dropped off, everybody
wipe them down.
And she was spraying them down with, I don't know what. So I remember, our online shopping, which was already probably at least 50%, probably went to 90% for the first couple of months until everybody figured out okay, we're probably going to be okay.
Well, and that swing back that you kind of alluded to didn't happen very hard. It went from 30 down to 25% and then came back up a little bit. And now we've just seen it maintain, that people are just used to ordering Instacart and ordering all these things now that everything's online. And so it helped our business. We didn't our bottom line grew a lot in 2020. We grew top line, I think 15% because we did lose 25% of our clients during that first quarter or that second quarter, but we replaced them and we still grew. But we got a lot more profitable because we could get rid of our office. We got more efficient. It forced us to be more disciplined. And then last year we grew 70% remotely, going fully remote for the first time in the history of our business and doing, we did really well with it, because it just opened up so many other positive things for the business and for our clients.
Yeah, 100%. Erik, hey, thanks for being on the show today. I love bringing experts on that have the ability to stand out in the market, have skills to influence, persuade, especially in the marketing angle. A lot of our shows about sales and that end, but marketing obviously is sales. Without marketing, there's really no sales as well. Any final thoughts or advice for our listeners?
Yeah. Also, just remember that there's and I hate to say this because it's going to force a little bit of workaholicism, but there's a compounding effect of putting the time in with sales. People, we even laugh about it internally because my business partner, and now we've got over 300 employees. There's this view of me as this CEO, even internally, that I try to squash, but it's I'm just Erik. I just work like everyone else. It's all good. But early on, I just kept my head down and with sales, my follow-up, I was very disciplined about. I constantly put in the time, and I just set my calendar that from 7 to 7 every day, I had a half-hour slots that I was talking to people about the company constantly. And then you look up and you go, holy crap, I have a 15,000 person pipeline that I'm staying in touch with, and I continue to add to it every day. So the discipline around keeping that top of the funnel going and then continuing to follow up is really what drove the company. I was 85% of our sales 3.5 years into the business. I drove about $7 million in sales by myself on an annual basis to the company before I built out a real sales team. So it's all keeping your head down.
It's keeping your head down. It's about learning the right skills. Because if you're going to be on having conversations from 7 to 7, why not learn the right skills to convert 2 to 3?
100%. Yeah. At that point, you're capped out, and then optimizing what you're doing is super important.
Yeah, 100%. All right. I want our listeners to go get your book. Where can our listeners learn more about you, what you do, your book? Where can they go to get that book?
Yeah, for the book, it's on Amazon, Target, Walmart, etc. Or at hawkemethod.com, thehawkemethod.com, and that's HAWKE method. So that's easy.
So go to thehawkemethod.com, and Hawke is HAWKE, right?
Yep. Yep.
thehawkemethod.com. We'll have that here in our show notes. Erik, it's a pleasure having you on. Enjoy sunny California.
I appreciate it.
You're out there, so enjoy it, and we appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.